Hello NFL fans, welcome to NFL Picks with Dave. Today we're going to predict how things will play out this weekend. Our first game is between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Chargers. Kansas City last week bulldozed over the tanking Las Vegas Raiders with a score of 48-8, while the Chargers defeated the New York Giants with a score of 37-21. Since the Chiefs scored more points, I'm picking them with a score of 34-20. Let's now move on to Saturday's games. Our first Saturday game takes us to Cleveland, Ohio, where the Browns will take on the Vegas Raiders. Cleveland last week pulled off a narrow upset over the Ravens with a score of 24-22, while the Raiders got blown out by Kansas City. This pick is a difficult one since the Browns are dealing with a COVID outbreak. Since the Raiders are eager to win, I'm picking them with a score of 24-17. Our second and final Saturday game is between the red-hot Patriots and the Colts. Both teams had the week off last week. This pick is difficult. Since the Patriots are aiming to win their division, I'm picking them with a score of 27-20. Now let's move on to Sunday's games. Our first Sunday matchup takes us to Buffalo, New York, where the Bills will take on the Carolina Panthers. Buffalo last week was outdueled by former division nemesis Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Carolina, meanwhile, lost to the Falcons with a score of 29-21. This pick is pretty easy. I'm picking the Bills with a score of 35-13. This pick is the lock of the week. Our next game is between the Steelers and the Titans. Tennessee last week defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars with a score of 20-0, while the Steelers lost to the Vikings with a score of 36-28. This pick is a tough one. Since the Steelers put up more points, I'm picking them with a score of 27-24. My next picks are the Dolphins over the Jets, 31-20, the Eagles over Washington, 24-10, the Cardinals over the Lions, 38-14, the Jaguars over the Texans, 24-23, the Cowboys over the Giants, 27-13, the Bengals over the Broncos, 35-32, and the 49ers over the Falcons, 28-21. Now let's move on to the two key later games. Our first slate matchup takes us to Los Angeles, California, where the Rams will take on the Seahawks. Seattle last week defeated the Texans with a score of 33-13, while the Rams defeated the Cardinals with a score of 30-23. This pick is not that hard. I'm picking the Rams with a score of 38-24. Our second and final late game is between the Packers and the Ravens. Green Bay last week defeated the Bears with a score of 45-30 for their sixth straight win over Chicago. The Ravens, meanwhile, lost to the Browns. Since the Packers are hungry for the NFC's number 1 seed, I'm picking them with a score of 34-27. Now let's move on to the last two primetime games. Our first primetime game takes us to Tampa, Florida, where the Buccaneers will take on the Saints. New Orleans last week defeated the Jets with a score of 30-9. While the Bucs defeated the Bills and survived a comeback attempt. This pick is very easy. I'm picking the Buccaneers with a score of 45-7. And now, the last pick of the week. It's the Vikings taking on the Bears. Minnesota last week defeated the Steelers, while the Bears lost to the Packers. This pick is not that hard. I'm picking the Vikings with a score of 30-20. And that does it for today's episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to get the latest videos. Also, be sure to like and follow this channel's Facebook page. Thanks again for watching and hope to see you again soon.